We are joined now by Brian Jacobson. He is chief economist at Annex Wealth Management. And for the technical takes, we've got Craig Johnson, chief market technician at Piper Sandler. Craig, I'm going to start with you. You made some great calls. It is a very, very scary time. I get it. They're talking about this on the general news media, which maybe it's good, maybe it's not. I don't know. You look at the charts, you strip the emotion out. What are the charts telling you and your team right now?
Brian, thanks for having me on such a rough day. Certainly the headlines out here are extremely negative all over the place, and the sentiment toward this market, Brian, is absolutely awful. If you look at the AAII numbers, you're at some of the lowest readings you've seen. Typically, you find these readings near sort of bear market lows is what you typically see. And if you also start to look at the VIX, it is elevated out here at this point in time. Now, technically, Brian, we have broken some uptrends. We've closed below 50, 200-day moving averages. But we're getting to some pretty washed out levels. And Brian, I've been on this show with you before.
Yep.
Got to these periods like this, and I started looking at new highs, new lows, breadth indicators, and all these pieces. And we're starting to get to levels where you look back and say, is this 1989? Is this a period of time that's like the great financial crisis or the 87 market crash? And I think the answer to that is flat out no. So we're setting ourselves up for, I think, a potentially pretty good buying opportunity, all this negativity. And again, as Warren Buffett has said, you got to be greedy when people are fearful and fearful when people are greedy. And there's definitely a lot of fear out here that seems to me to be a little bit misplaced on the charts.
You know, and Brian, I'll be honest, I made kind of a stupid tweet earlier today. I basically said, you know, folks, just remember you don't lose money until you sell stocks. It was an emotional response, something I heard on a non-business channel where they're like, retirees are being wiped out. And I'm just thinking, number one, if you started retiring 5 months ago, I guess you're wiped out. But otherwise, you should still be higher. My point was simply that you don't actually cash in the losses unless you sell, and that most big up days happen in some of the worst markets. And if you strip out like 10 days out of 1,000, those are the days where you tend to make all your money. But it is a scary time. How do we, for you and your clients, how do we take out that emotion and remember what Craig and history has said about trying to time this market really is a stupid thing to do unless you're a day swing trader?
Yeah, well, and even for day swing traders, right? I mean, how successful are they? Is it really skill? Is it luck? And when we're coaching our clients through events like this, it's about really refocusing on that financial plan, those long-term goals, because I think it's really easy to get caught up in the day-to-day movements in the market and lose sight of, well, where am I actually relative to my longer-term financial goals? And I think that can give people a little bit of comfort. It doesn't take away the pain, right? I mean, if you are warned by your doctor that you're going to get a shot, he says that it's this might hurt a bit, and it still hurts, but at least I think it can help provide that type of perspective. And I really appreciate that you had started off this segment talking about how some of the biggest up days can occur shortly after some of the big down days as well. I think that right now it's just a matter of, like FDR, what he said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself, because this is really driven by fear. What are the fundamentals going to look like? Are we going to get a recession? And I think that sometimes headlines can amplify that fear as opposed to toning things down. If we think about the end game, we know that businesses, their fundamentals are still very much intact. Valuations across the board maybe were a little stretched in some areas, but not in others. So I think that it is one of those opportunities where it's about, you know, just put on your seatbelt, maybe put on a crash helmet if you need to, and just ride through this.